Hi, happy Friday. This activity is based on the story you read this week, which is about a boy who didn't want to give up his chair to his little sister. That was his chair, his special place, and now they're giving it to his sister. And that can be hard, but we're growing. We grow and we change. So what we are going to do is we are going to make a chair, but we're going to make our chair. So this is my chair. We're going to make our chair where we sit right now, so that later, maybe down the road, we can open it up and go, oh yeah, I remember that used to be my chair. Or maybe it is still your chair. Who knows? But we need a place, and we like places. So think of a place in your head that is yours. And kind of sometimes when somebody's in them, you are like, oh, that's my spot. Okay? To them, it's just a chair, but to you, it's your chair. Okay? So, now that you're ready, let's get creative. You'll need a piece of paper, and you'll need a piece of construction paper or a paper that's larger than the first paper. You'll need scissors, ruler, pencil, colored pencils, and glue. Stick glue or liquid glue, it doesn't matter. What you're gonna need is you're gonna need 2 pieces of paper. If you don't have another paper of a different color, that's totally fine. Just use the same white paper. I didn't have any construction paper, so I'm actually using a file folder, a half of a file folder, because I want you guys to see the difference between the front and the back. So usually construction paper or the file folder is larger than your piece of paper. You want that, and you want to capitalize on that by putting your paper right in the center so it makes this nice little border. How do we keep it there? We're going to just fold the entire thing in half. Both papers, corner to corner. And now we know where exactly it sits in that file folder. File folder or construction paper set aside, we are going to split this in half. So paper, normal computer standard paper, is 8.5 inches. So it's 8 1/2 inches. Okay, we need to find the exact center. When we find the exact center of something, we are cutting our whole piece into 2. So that means I need to cut this into 2 pieces. So what is a multiple that is times by 2, which equals 8? Let's put a question mark here so we don't get confused. So what times 2 equals 8? It would be 4 times 2 equals 8. So what's half of a half? Well, if we have a square and we cut it in half, now I need to cut this in half again because we want half of a half. A half of a half is this area. Means it's 1 of 1, 2, 3, 4. We write that 1/4. Okay? If this is hard for you, definitely get an adult to help you out. Anyway, so now we know that 4 is half of 8 and 1/4 is half of a half. So that means 4 1/4 inches is half of 8.5. So I'm gonna find that on my ruler. So 4 is right here, and then a half is the second biggest notch, and then a 1/4 is the third biggest notch in between the 4 and the half. So I'm gonna line my ruler up really nicely, and I am going to mark that spot. 4 1/4, not a half. 4 1/4. So there's my half. If you have nobody to help you, go ahead and fold your paper in half again. and you have found the center. It's just nice to not have this fold in here when we start making the actual chair, but it's not the end of the world either. Now we have our half marked. What we need to do is we need to go an inch out on each side, which means I'm going to line up my 0 of my ruler to the middle line, and I'm going to mark right there. And then I'm going to do the other direction, 0 of the ruler to the middle and mark 1. So we know that these are both 1 inch from the center. We also need to go 2 inches out. So I'm going to line up my edge of my paper, my ruler to the edge of my paper. Make sure it's flat against there by it lining up really nicely with the paper, and I'm gonna mark 2. I can also go ahead and just draw that line. I'm going to do the same thing on this mark. Line up my ruler, nice, and flush, that means right up against, and mark 2. And I'm going to draw that line. Once you have that line, those 2 lines drawn, you're just gonna take your scissors and you're gonna cut both of those lines. And that's it, you're gonna stop at the end of the mark. Do not cut the center line. Now, to make the chair. When we open it, we have this. We want to keep this section folded, but what we're gonna do is we're gonna pull this section up. So I'm pulling it up with my finger. And the fold wants us to fold this way, right? We're gonna change the direction of that fold by slowly, nicely pinching it like this. So it's gonna look like a bird, like, okay? And then I wanna fold it right here. So I'm gonna keep pulling it. I'm pulling it like me pulling this piece of paper is making the whole thing closed. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull it till I can close the whole thing. So then it just looks like I cut out this big square. But if I open it up, I have a block. If that first way was a little difficult with folding the chair again, what you can do is before you open the paper all the way, you can close it back so it looks like it's all together, and just take the flap and bend it over itself till it stops. You want this paper laying flat. But then you also want to unfold it and fold it the opposite direction. That way when we open our paper, it already has the lines where we need it folded. So all we have to do is pull up our chair, crease it right there in the center, and closing comes a lot easier, and it's already creased. And then we open and we have our chair again. We're now going to decide and start drawing our chair inside a room. Because this folds, because it's 3-dimensional and it comes up, we have multiple things to think about. It's like we're laying a room flat. So if I were to put this up, and this is the chair, and we're looking at the chair, this is the front of the chair legs on the floor, because the chair is touching the floor. And this is the back. This is where our back rests on our chair. That means, if I were to flip it, this is where we sit, the seat of the chair. That means that this is the floor, and this is the wall. That means we can put whatever pattern we want down here for the floor. So maybe I have a tile floor and I want to make it look like I'm in the kitchen or something. So I can just make lots of lines, and then lines the opposite direction. and then so on and so forth. So maybe it's a black and white tiled floor. So I can do every other square. And again, popping it up. That's where my chair is sitting on. My chair is sitting on the kitchen floor. That means this is the wall, and we can have windows. And there's a little tree outside. Whee! Okay, we can have shelves. Just like that, okay? And then you'll draw the back of your chair. So I'm gonna go ahead and time lapse what I'm gonna do. Instead of a kitchen floor, I'm gonna do a wood floor with a rug on it. And in the background, I'm going to do a window and a shelf and a side table so that you guys know what I'm doing in my time lapse. I'm gonna give you guys a couple tips and tricks. So this is my wood floor. A really nice tip to make it look wood is just to put little hash marks all over. And you don't have to go crazy. You can just put 1 or 2 on each one of them. If you want to, every once in a while, you can throw a knot in there. And what that looks like is it's kind of like an eye shape with a line in the center, and then have wood grains going out from each side of it. Okay, so you can do little knots, big knots. I wouldn't do knots all over because I haven't seen a wood floor with a bunch of knots in it. But hey, if you have that, you draw all those knots. Okay, now to make something look like it's outside, this is my window, and my front room window has a big window in the middle and 2 windows on the side. How we can make this look like a window is I can put one big border around the whole window, and then I can connect the corners with a line. So it looks like it's going back into space, right? You can do that for all 4 corners. Now I can also draw what's outside. So my outside is going to have a ledge because it has wood separating the fire pit place and the grass area. So then I'm going to draw a little grass. And then I have a fence line, which is a picket, is a wooden slab fence, and I can do that. Now it's also really important to put something that we can recognize, because right now this just looks like a bunch of lines. So maybe I can put a basketball. We all recognize a basketball. And now we can see that that's outside because that's small and that would be bigger if it were inside. Also, you can tell that I did a end table or a side table, and I put my cup of coffee on it, and I put my shelves here. I did it while I was looking straight on because that's exactly what it's going to look like. Again, if I were to fold my chair up, we're looking straight at the wall. Straight down is my floor. Now, the chair that I'm drawing is a lazy boy, so it's a recliner and it's really comfy. So I'm gonna make it really comfy, and I'm gonna put the back up here. So I know there's a huge head cushion and 2 cushions on the side, and then it has a little button here in the middle. Okay, so then this is the seat. This looks weird, but remember, what does the seat of my chair look like? So I have armrests, and the armrests cover the whole thing. They go from the back to the front. And then I have my cushion. This cushion has 4 buttons. And this just looks like the fabric is pulling. And then what does the front look like? The front looks like 3 different divisions because remember it comes out as a recliner. So I have a big area, a small area, and then a medium area again. And that's my recliner. So that's what it's gonna look like when I fold it up. You guys can then go ahead and color it just like that. I'm going to color it with, or first go over it with black pen, and then color it because I think that looks a lot better. So I will time lapse that so you guys can watch if you want to. We need to put it together, put all the pieces together. And so we have our folder, our construction paper background and our chair. What we need to do is we need to put glue on the back, put glue everywhere except this rectangle because it can't be sticking to the back, it has to pop out. So I like liquid glue and I like to paint it on with a paintbrush. You guys can, stick glue works perfectly fine. If you don't have stick glue, tape works. Again, whatever you guys have at home will work. Also, you guys may have noticed, I said I was gonna put a rug on the floor and I completely forgot. I really got into making the wood flooring and I liked it and then I was like, oops, I have a rug down there. So now I'm going to flip this over, make sure I'm not gonna flip it over yet, but I'm gonna start bending it where the corners are, making sure the chair folds in, and then I'm going to press it right up against where the fold is of my construction paper. And I'm gonna push one side down, and then I'm going to push the other side down. And then again, making sure this pops out, we now have our special chair, our special place. And what's even cool is that it closes up and it's kind of hidden. And we get to take it wherever we want. And we get to show whoever we want that this is my favorite spot. This is my chair. Something to be proud of. So there you go. Hope you guys enjoyed and see you later.